Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, I'd like to discuss the request that the EU have made of Elon Musk's Twitter to provide files related to its recommendation algorithms, as there are concerns the platform is artificially amplifying the AfD ahead of the German elections. Now, it's just possible that Elon Musk will order his senior managers to not comply. So what could happen if he decides to pick a fight, yet again, against foreign authorities? But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So, I keep seeing it being reported that Elon Musk spent $200 million helping to get Donald Trump elected. No. That may be true of the official campaign, but he spent $42 billion getting Trump elected. Despite what Musk said he would do with Twitter when he bought it, he's done the opposite. The platform has been used to amplify his own talking points as well as those he agrees with and choke the views of those whose views he doesn't want spreading. You know, there are content creators with large followings across multiple platforms who've been able to show that their own reach was impacted just on Twitter when Musk started to make changes to the algorithms. But Musk hasn't limited himself to interfering in his adopted country's elections. He is a Kremlin-powered force for disunity in any country which acts as a bulwark against Russian imperialism. He's making it more than clear that he wants to impact the UK elections, which fortunately aren't for some time. But he could still affect local and devolved parliamentary elections in this country if we do not take urgent action. But the most imminent threat, of course, is to the German elections, which are just next month. Musk has been actively promoting the AfD, which, as the owner of a large social media platform, is interference enough. I mean, imagine what the MAGA faithful would say if a German had bought Twitter rather than Musk and used the platform to heavily promote Kamala Harris. Would they think that was all fine in the interest of free speech? Or would they want the foreigner to butt out of their most sensitive affairs? But it's believed that Musk isn't just promoting the AfD, which would be legal, but bending Twitter to the amplification of their talking points as well, as he has done for other issues, which would not be legal. So the EU Commission have said that Twitter, or X as they're calling it, of course, has to hand over documents showing recent changes to the way recommendations are worked out. And if you want another good reason for still calling it Twitter rather than X, it's because otherwise we have to say that the EU have ordered Musk to hand over the X files. Situation silly enough, quite frankly. The Commission wants to know how the platform moderates and amplifies content. Now, it is, of course, possible that Elon Musk will defy the EU Commission. He will certainly delay compliance. He has form for this, most recently sulking because a Brazilian judge banned the platform nationally until he did as he was told, which, of course, he did. Well, the same capacity sort of exists within the EU. It is possible for a judge to order a suspension of Twitter across all EU member states. Thierry Breton, who's a former commissioner, was talking about this recently. I've seen some commentators saying, well, yeah, but it could only be a temporary suspension. When someone Twitter banned permanently if it doesn't deal with disinformation properly. But given that the specific issue is interference in the German elections, and that's a time-limited event, a temporary suspension is all that's needed. The EU could then work on what other action it needs to take regarding more long-term issues afterwards. So really, the pertinent questions are, first, would a judge actually order a Twitter ban, and under what circumstances? The German elections are just weeks away, and every day that Twitter is active in Germany, it is impacting people's perceptions. How long do Twitter get before they can be deemed to be defying the order? Because even if Musk complies, he's only going to do so at the last moment, isn't he? Then, depending on what he does, there are questions at the end of each branch. Like, if he refuses, how long does it take to present the case to a judge and get the decision? If Musk complies, how long does it take for the EU to determine whether or not the rules are being followed? And if not, the same as before, how long to build a case and get a judgment? This is something where you would think very swift action is needed to deal with this imminent threat, but the EU can't just circumvent its own procedures. So how quickly can this be done? I would say if there were a serious threat of Twitter being banned across the EU, Musk would probably comply. If Twitter is banned, not only does he not get to amplify the AfD, he doesn't even get to promote them legally. Remember, his personal promotion of the AfD is not against EU laws as long as he's not artificially amplifying those posts. or suppressing those attacking the AfD or speaking in favour of other parties. So if Twitter is banned, Musk loses even his legal interference, as well as his interference in other European countries, such as France, where he also has an eye on the next presidential elections. In fact, from what I can gather, could be argued that the best way for Musk to avoid having to comply with the EU rules is, ironically, to hand over all the files they ask for. Because according to experts who've been interviewed about the issue, really won't be quick or easy to prove that Twitter is amplifying specific content, even if you hand over all those files, because the people examining them will first of all have to work out how Twitter operates. Whereas if Musk refuses to comply, well, that's surely an easier decision to block Twitter because he's refusing to comply, right? Though even that could be tricky, because the first move with a rogue social media platform is to fine them before suspending them. If we compare to, say, Brazil, where, of course, yes, different system, they didn't straight away ban Twitter. It took some time. The problem we have here is we don't have that time. You know, and maybe there is provision to go straight for a temporary suspension due to the urgency of the situation. You know, you're talking about interfering in elections held within a member state. But that would only happen if the law as it stands has considered this scenario and made provision for it. It's also been pointed out that there was heavy Russian interference in Romania recently, and the same law people are expecting to deal with Musk, and some people are confident will deal with Musk, didn't deal with Putin. So we'll have to see what happens. The EU Commission have made an order. If that order is defied and swift action is not taken, it'll be obvious the laws are weak. If the order is complied with, but the EU cannot work out quickly enough whether or not, or enough to prove that Twitter is amplifying certain messages, again, there's a weakness. You know, a foreign power digital campaign will have been deployed in elections in 2 member states without any robust defence in place, which will mean, of course, the law will have to be tightened, just as we already know our own needs to be in the UK. Now, in Germany's case, it could easily impact the shape of the Bundestag, shouldn't have a devastating impact on the formation of the government. The AfD are not going to find themselves in government. The same may not be true in France later on, though. So if neither Musk nor Putin can be stopped from interfering in EU elections, and we'll find out soon enough, and both, of course, are going to team up behind National Rally in France, will the EU take more urgent action? Especially as Facebook are now following the Twitter model as well. That is just going to compound the problems. They have already asked Zuckerberg to explain himself there, because his moves to remove content moderation are actually against EU laws. And whatever the EU do or fail to do, will we take note in the UK and decide to learn lessons for ourselves? But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.